maybe it's just me, but let me tell you something. Let's give an honest source to the Creator, the Most High, making all things possible. Let me tell you something. Maybe it's just me, but I know it's not just me. But then again, like, I be so honored with a lot of shit to where, like, let's give an honor to the ancestors. No. Where am I going? Okay, yeah, I'm going in the right direction. Okay, I'm gonna hit a CLB. So I give an honor to the ancestors. No. I don't encourage or support people to do this. You know, I'm not saying this is a skill when you're driving like this. But I really just need to invest in one of those camera holders. Where I'm going, I'll probably find one. It'll find me. But anywho, jumping into what I'm about to say. Damn. I ain't even realized like this little head wrap go exactly with this jacket. I like to wear like oversized stuff. Big jacket. This motherfucker was like, I think 75 cents on sale at a thrift store. What I was finna say though is, let that shit go. It's spring cleaning. I've been picking up on the energy of letting a lot of stuff go, and the energy that holds on to it. That's just me. Packing, like, it's just, I feel like packing, relocating, a lot of energy is in the air of like really keeping your mind in a grounded state. Cause like, you know, those who follow astrology or, you know, other things like, you know, us being in the horse year, the Chinese New Year or whatever. And then the astrological New Year is the 20th. So not only have I been feeling this urge of resting, but I've been also feeling this urge of like, this urge to like let go of stuff. And that's like what I'm on my way to do. Is like, I do this a lot. I do this a lot. And I recognize I do it when I'm like approaching, already in a new space, but approaching like a new chapter in my life. And it's like you already there. One thing I have to realize is like, I have to ask myself, am I trying to rewrite a chapter? Am I rereading something? But that's the part of life when you reflect, past, present, future. A lot of things we reflect on just to realize, to remind us where we're going. I like to look at the past as the rearview mirrors of a car. The present is you realizing the awareness like you're in a vehicle. That's like your body. And then the future, if you want to call it that, is like what's ahead. So all of them are like hand in hand or play a vital role. So a lot of things that I am packing up, and I ask myself like what I need to let go of and stuff like that. And you ever like got to some stuff and you trying to let it go, and then you like, do I really want to hold on to this? Do I really want to do this? And I tell myself, in reality, I know I need to let it go. A lot of shit it's not even, all of my needs are met. It's more so of, now I'm at a space of like getting what I want. Like I have everything I need. And that's the thing about being present. Like, I presently have everything I need. It's not even about just finances. It's just like, it's everything that co-conspires with that. Like my well-being, my breath, my sanity, me being grounded, you know, just so many things. Just being present consists of all of that, I feel. But and just the uniqueness of me embodying that allows me now to just go with the flow. And going with the flow is like, you know, imagine you're on a ship or something, right? But you have all this, I was gonna say cargoes is for a plane, but you have all this stuff and you're needing to let go of stuff because of the weight. So that's like an analogy of like too much weight on a plane or too much weight on a ship or something that could cause it to sink. So my reemergence, like almost in my life, or realizing like certain things that I can say that caused me to, will cause one or cause myself to sink, and even realize like how important it is to let go, because if you don't let go, you will drown. And then who you gonna blame? And so that's the beauty of letting go of said dead weight or things that are outdated or expired in your life. So we are, when I'm making this video, approximately this is March 11th, so I'm like literally 9 days. Literally the new cycle, the astrological spring, is actually the next cycle coming. Because what it is, Wednesday, yeah. So yeah, it's actually, I believe, next Saturday or Saturday coming, like the next Friday or Saturday. So that's wow. And so a lot of things I'm realizing now is that I'm completing a lot of things, not so much of a lot, but doing my best to pace myself with my art creations. But it's like in this moment, I'm letting go of things that were connected to things like months ago, you know, things, because everything holds an energy. And what I mean by that is like everything, your clothing, article, anything physically holds, spiritually and physically holds an energy. It holds an experience. So that being said, it's like, imagine, you know, well, just know that like how a lot of people hold on to stuff that is significant. And just my perspective of a lot of things, I cannot tell people what to do and how to go about it. But I always remind myself, there's no U-Haul behind no hearse. And more so, like, you cannot take shit with you. So that reminds me of the balance of like living life and enjoying it, allowing things to be let go. I even at times purchase clothing. It's like I purchase clothing, not like how people purchase shit and hoard it. No, I purchase shit like today. I've had something for, and it sounds wild, I've had something, an outfit that I was preparing for like not just like a staycation, but an adventure. I had like something that's vibrant that I know I wasn't supposed to wear that shit here, but I had it just to prepare for what's ahead. So I go shopping, I go get things from a place of preparation, like letting my future self, higher self, or you know, the universe, like, yeah, I'm still rocking with this mission. Now I'm still ready to travel here and go here. Yeah. Because I feel like in certain aspects we'll throw stuff away, but don't realize sometimes not old outdated stuff. I mean not no hoarding type shit, because for me, my perspective, it's not the hoarding, it's me keeping it in my travel bag. Like today I tried on, like, I got some new stuff, but I tried on stuff that to see how it fit, and you know, would I really wear this? And that less is more is a great thing, because it's like, would I really wear this if I'm somewhere, or even if I'm somewhere, you know, I don't care if people see me in it, but I'm like, I ask myself, this newer version of myself, this new version of myself I'm embodying, do I care? Like, would I want to wear this out somewhere? No. Am I even going to take pictures with it? Maybe not. But it doesn't even matter. It's just the fact of, like, I tried stuff on. I felt so good because I was just, like, literally putting myself in the energy of, like, I'm already there wherever I'm going, like, specifically clear waters, or, you know, trying new foods, new experiences. You know, just some, like, again, like, for me, it's the stuff that I also am letting go that connects to what I was trying on was, the stuff I'm currently letting go was a lot of stuff that was I received or got in the shelter. So it's still in good condition, but it's more so the attachment. What is my attachment to, or what's my, you know, why haven't I let this go? That's just something I have like a habit of doing. Like if I feel like something energetically or an experience is tied to that, it's almost like grieving over something. I just like, I'm telling myself, you know what, this is for someone else, or I need to let this go because it's not for me no more. That's all. And when I let it go, it's like memories can come up, or even the fact of like having something. That's just like people, jewelry, obituaries, whatever it is. It's like I see myself, you know how people say, you know, you should put stuff on an altar, or you know how people spiritually celebrate stuff. Bro, I look at myself as the fucking altar. I look at myself as an embodiment of the ancestors or those who came before me and celebrate it in every way. And that, I feel like, is a lot of what my self-expression is, even with my artistry now. A lot of those things like expanding, being more vibrant in what it is I'm doing, and having that innocence and childlike mindset. Like, I don't give a fuck who sees me. I'm going to dress up. I'm going to wear what I want. I'm going to do what I want. The sovereign aspect. I'm going to just whatever. And not caring who likes it starts with me first. So that, again, the stuff that I'm letting go of, like, holds us. And I realize the energy, and it reminds me of the journey. That's the beauty of being able to be inspired by the experience and realizing, like, I know where I'm going. It's a reminder to let me know where I'm going. And that's a part of what I'm becoming. So I don't need to feel shame and guilt around. No, it's behind me. It's like a rearview. It's the rearview mirror. I can see it, but now that as I'm moving forward, I'm letting go. So now I'm telling myself, like, okay, yeah. Now, and what I usually do sometimes, like when I let go of stuff, I go right to the store, if it's a sale or something, and get something, but still have a healthy balance. But I get stuff towards, like, for me, like, if I have goals on, like, achieving something or receiving something financially, or, you know, certain things that I desire, that I want, then that's, I had to learn also to be structured in that instead of being impulsive. So I had to, as I grew in life and be more aware of who I am and aware of what I'm here to do in the becoming of that, in the blossoming of that, then a part of letting go, not because, think about this, the things energetically those clothes hold is also a mindset, a perspective, a way of being, you know, that at a point in time I was. So think about like boomers or people, generations before us, who have lived in their house. You know, it's funny because I'm just, you know, bring y'all into my world. I was looking at a home today online, and I was like, damn, like, shit, they got a lot of stuff in there. And you could just look at the fact of, like, how, you know, you looking at a home online, and then they have all the stuff in there, and it shows you, like, I think the one I was looking at was one that was for either for sale or for auction. And, you know, I don't know the backstory to the auction aspect of why the house is being auctioned off, because I don't know if people are, I know it's so many different ways to look at that. I don't know if it's foreclosure, seized, or, you know, there's so many things to look at that. But anywho, I was telling myself, like, yo, like, whoa, I could tell bro, I was looking at all the shit today. I could just see the sentimental things in life, but at the same time, I could see the energy. That's just my perspective. I could see so much in that house that this is why I feel like a lot of people dread moving or relocating, because you got to realize, you know how much memories, repressed, suppressed emotions, you know, wherever you have memories, there are going to be emotions. I love this discussion right now. Like, and that's the beauty of wherever you have memories, there are emotions. That means there are something that either you repress, suppress, or, you know, just emotions, joy, whatever it is. So that makes one think about, like, whoa, ask yourself, not only what have you held on to physically, but what are you holding on or have held on to mentally, spiritually, physically? And then how that has either bled onto your relationships or trickled on into your relationships? How does that reflect your current relationship with yourself and other people? So for me, again, looking at that house online was just showing me like, damn, I can tell these people probably living there for like 50 some odd years, or I don't know, but just to look at it, you can just tell it wasn't updated and it probably needs some renovations. But it just really showed me again how much people, for me, this is how my mind operates. Like, it's not even just overthinking, it's just like I can see the sentimental values, the memories, but also I can see like the attachment, probably unhealthy attachment, or the psychological aspect to it, like something regarding like mental health or something like that, because that's just from experience of seeing people grow up. And that's why I feel like I have such a detachment or able to let go of things differently than other people, due to experience or due to the fact of like, that's probably something through childhood development, probably related to the fact of how I used to move around a lot too, and had to let go of shit. That, you know what? I'm probably getting clarity over some shit right now, because that's one of the things that I realized. Like, man, that's significant even in itself. Because I gotta pause because I gotta dump this stuff off as I'm talking about it. But that's probably the significance, even when I'm talking about like, man, hold on, let me pause this. Yo, so I just met this dope dude like at the thrift store dropping some stuff off, and he was like, it's wild because I needed to see that delivery for UPS, big UPS truck. We received that. I received it. It was just like some stuff. See, it's wild because stuff that I know I don't need. Like it was a dope New Balance jacket, like rainproof and like windproof probably and all that stuff. So, and I was like, oh bro, you need this jacket. He like, oh yeah, man, he already had, he collect vintage stuff. He was dope. I was already like, yeah, I don't question nothing with the universe or just alignment. It was meant for him. I was like, nah, you don't gotta donate that, take that, bro. But yeah, he was just sharing information with me. Sometimes it be alignment when you just meet somebody, because he sells stuff like vintage stuff, and I'm into that. As you can see, he was like, bro, I love that jacket. I was like, yeah, 75 cents, my boy, on sale. But anywho, what was coming up for me as I was saying that was like, bro, reflecting on experiences, like so just personally, my experience, the goals I have is a lot of things where when you are being called to break generational cycles and patterns, then there's integrity to go through this shit, to where it's like you have to really look at your patterns, like around, I'm talking about money wounds or the mother wound that's connected to like how you see things financially, your connection to money, so many different aspects of the feminine coming into the masculinity, or if you just subscribe to feminine energy, it's just so many things that reflect and mirror back to where and why we live and have certain behavior patterns or learned behavior patterns and so forth. So that comes with unlearning, redirecting, reinventing, recreating, reassessing, approaching life completely different with a mindset. So that's why I see the significance in letting go of certain things. And it's not just a physical thing. It brings up the mental and emotional state for me. What was coming up for me as I was saying that is where something childhood, like when I was letting go of stuff, when I was saying like how, I probably do this because, of commitment, or not seeing people being committed to their goals or committed to sustainability or stableness, I should say, and committed to their goals. So for me, that's why I go how I go towards my shit when it comes to creating my arts, when it comes to creating anything, in creating the stability emotionally and what emotional safety looks for me. That means that is going to, I have to also create a whole world around that no one can really relate to but me first, and then it's almost like people adjust to it. That's just like when you see in the collective or everybody right now, most of what people do, if they don't know how to think for themselves, or they don't know what it is to be sovereign or be authentic, most of the time what they're doing is someone's dictating their life. They're dictating their life unconsciously. When they don't know how to think for themselves, they really are just letting people being influenced by whatever. And then to go deeper into spiritual things, it's just like lower nature or entities or spiritual attachments or certain things. It's just like people don't even know. They're not even living they're not who they say they are. If they don't really reflect that, if they don't really root it within themselves. So what I was getting to is the fact of the commitment thing. It's just like a lot of cycles that I'm breaking is like I've had to first relearn and recreate what it is to be committed to myself. When you are committed to something, that takes consistency and persistence. That takes going through emotions. That takes going through shit that you don't even want to go through. You know what I'm saying? But you have to get what you want. And that starts with you. So when I'm telling myself like, hey bro, like, man, I'm telling myself like what came up for me, the memories of people who, again, seeing my mother, well, using my mother experience is more so like I realized that a part of me inherited a lot of things where a lot of people who never committed to their goals or committed to, let's just say this, they were more committed to things unhealthily, that they got the same results and they were mad at everybody else. But I'm like, you getting these results because it's what you're committed to. You're not committed to something healthy and expansive, because then your results wouldn't be the same. You will have different results towards what it is that you want to obtain. And see, the fear of that is a lot of people aren't willing to go through those things, and they fear the possibility of losing out, they feel, on what is familiar to them. Like, for instance, it's just like a lot of people aren't willing to go through things where they have to no longer be able to deal with other people or them being in their life, and same thing happening, and it's like the uncomfortability of experiencing something different they're afraid of. So their commitment, let me put this up here, their commitment will look completely different than yours. So where I'm getting at is, again, I had memories of people where it came to the fact of like, I remember my mom and them, it's just like the repetitive pattern of not failure, but not being able to withstand shit, like to stabilize stuff. So for me, a lot of cycle breaking, generational curse breaking, is recognizing a pattern and seeing things from a different lens, structurally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to where now I have to build this world within myself, because that reflects from subconscious to conscious, and recognizing the awareness around these patterns. So now what am I needing to do now? My whole perspective on life changes. I have to now realize that at a point in time, these people only saw the trees. They didn't see the motherfucking forest. They couldn't see past that their consequences, or we are the tail end of their consequences, or that they made, if that makes sense. Like, in people's actions, this is the consequences. Like, people, again, when you grow, you have sex, the consequences from that can be a child. It's no difference in people's actions. It's the intention behind it. So a lot of like what you see or have played out, whether we're unconscious of it or not, is that a lot of decisions that we made, even I tell myself, it's just like me not ever seeing true commitment or healthiness when it comes to family dynamics or certain things we're building on stuff. I've had to gradually learn through my inability to see that young or soak that in, to even remove the mask, the ego, or, the wounded ego, or the mindset, the approach around how I intentionally now see things more stable, more healthy, more balanced, more structured. And that's where I have to give myself grace and a lot of patience, is because instead of me holding on, like, you know, all these things I keep telling y'all about, like this holding on thing when it comes to coming out of generational patterns or curses, or letting go of things that you can recall, like when you were at a place of like I said, being in a shelter. You know, me speaking about a lot of these things bring up the fact of like how, again, people who were not committed or could commit. So I had to recognize, like, I am a continuation of that generationally. So now I have to ask myself, what can I build structurally, you know, within myself that can go beyond what is normalized today for a man, for myself. And then then go towards that flow of what feels natural. But that goes even to the fact of being in a dysfunctional family growing up and seeing how people operate. Brung up the memory when I was telling y'all about like dropping off the clothes and I was getting into shit. It was bringing up shit to where I remember seeing my mom and them having to go to a storage. Remember I was talking about the house, the auction? Bro, I remember seeing our shit getting auctioned. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So you talking about something repressed? I remember seeing, you ever experience your shit being auctioned off? Like auction. Literally, you know, your mother, now you realizing she had a drug addiction, not realizing this is what the consequences were to her actions. Even if like the guy she was with, it's just like the fact of you can be in partnership, but someone else is still going through something, whether mentally or spiritually, you know, the warfare, to where they're not able to be committed to being more structured and balanced and more secure in whatever it is. So their actions pretty much affects everyone involved. And so reflecting on that brings up even the family structure and dynamic to where I had to collapse everything around it to rebuild it. So in having kids, all of these things never leave you. Like I said, memories, the emotions around me being a little boy. Like I got the fucking vision in my head of going to the storage units, and like it never made sense to me how my mother can be so angry from her consequences. I mean, from her actions, and these are the consequences. And then seeing your furniture, seeing your toys, or seeing shit get auctioned off, people bid on it. Like at a storage unit. I didn't even know what was going on until like I start to process these things now. And that's that delayed grief or processing things later, where you realize like, whoa, a lot of our subconscious fears, or a lot of our fears, come from childhood development. So I can see why I had commitment issues. I can see why now, even not being able to recognize what was healthy, even how a lot of my actions steered towards, again, me wanting stability, but not even knowing how to get it or obtain it, because a lot of shit I've never seen, or a lot of stuff that I never witnessed or even seen consistently from people. So that's the thing about having to mother ourselves, parent ourselves. You know, a lot of things with healing the mother wound, a lot of these things I realize in self-love, when I do let go of stuff, there's a grieving or a letting go, but also there's an obtaining a different mindset and approach, like seeing what I've done before, seeing what I did before. How did I approach this? How did this not happen again? Because I have to be able to see my role. I have to be able to see the consequences into how I have to stay consistent, how I now have a responsibility, not just for myself, but for everyone involved. So growing up, you realize like you grew up around people who didn't even care about the consequences, because in knowing who you are, knowing thyself, being self-sufficient, self-sustainable, or what's the word? Self-aware of how what you do affects other people, then that right there shows you the foundation and structure where people are coming from. So if a person doesn't practice or even care about how they show up for themselves and how they love on themselves, how they, go through navigate through these times and have to emerge from not drowning in said emotions. Because that's a part of like the spiritual journey or the journey itself, is that the drowning, the depression or the suppression is just like you diving into yourself, you diving deep, and in this emotional state, one is not able to rise out of it because they don't see the forest from the trees, or they feel, but they never actually get out of the feeling and rise into the logic, if that makes sense, or rise into the practical. So now when people submerge in their emotions, they don't realize that their reactions affect their foundations, or have affected their foundations for the consequences that the reality that they have. So that's where it takes a more mature or emotional intelligent individual who realize that at a point in time, it comes to a place where, as an observer or as a person, it's not so much of them. What do I need to see about myself? What is this teaching me? It can be about people, but the pointing the finger, there's always three pointing back at you. So now you realize like how everything like is, as you point the finger again, I had to learn how to bring it back to myself. Like my elder used to tell me that, like, okay, you can say this about someone, but be able to bring it back to self. And that starts to dawn on me more and more, because I'm like, oh, wow, like I have to see that sometimes you're able to see in other people's life, or you will be able to see what they do with their actions. Just like you see your mother and father, that was their actions. That is not your consequences. That is not your responsibility to save them. And so a lot of what's happening, where no one's exempt from karma in this life that we come to live, in this life that we all will grow, whether into a child, into adulthood and so forth, everything, no matter what matters is the intention, but also the seeds that you sowed. That means I know, I'm aware of my rewards that come from being authentic, being in my truth, being honest with myself. Then that means that whatever doesn't reflect that, that's the consequences of that. A lot of what I know I've been setting intentionally and acting out and maneuvering through integrity and being real with myself, why the fuck would I even expect or be surprised that certain people won't come along with me? Because I have to recognize, even in relationships, business and so forth, that person or individual was reflecting back to me something that either I needed to see or refused to see. That's what, I just created art masterpiece of a blindfold, me being blindfolded, but then it having the first eye, but some people call it a spiritual eye, open. But it's the significance of the balance between the realm, the spiritual realm, and the physical, because our connection to source is that of the spirit first, the soul, or the divine. So it's going to become very clear, and when people don't do the inner work, or when they submerge and don't emerge, or they submerge into the depths of, some may call it the dark night, some may call it into spiritual warfare, submerge into their emotions or things ancestrally, or things dealing with whatever generationally, that is the lesson. That's the karma. And what most people aren't afraid to do is that they allow their fears or subconscious fears, because when you think about sub, I tell you submarine, when you look at sub, it's like they submerge and they never re-emerge, or they never emerge from the depths of who they are. Because in that, no one knows what the fuck goes on with you in that experience. That's one of the best and greatest lessons of knowing thyself, is that letting go of those clothes. I had to realize, like, no one knows the experience of those clothes, even if it's donated to someone else. Do you see where I'm getting at? So even in letting go of that energy, it's no longer in my reality, but it's more so like letting go of that reality, that experience and so forth, that no longer serves me. So think about people who hoard. There's a subconscious or unhealthy attachment to a lot of those things. That's a mental thing. That's a psychological thing going on there. And most likely is dealing with either some type of post-traumatic stress or what's the other one? PTSD and it's something else that goes with that. PTSD is one, and then it's one where you just simply have dealt with something traumatic. But even with that, again, this is what happens even in connections and relationships, is that it'll, like, I can tell myself from the experience of interacting with people, I know that I am liberating and breaking free from shit. And I know that simply because how I'm able to flow and balance out things. And even when things are presented, I have to now sense the uncomfortability. Like, are you going to lie to yourself about not being honest about saying you don't want to do something? Or are you going to be fearful of the consequences, which really the consequences on the other side of things is just another lesson. The reward is being able to see, have you learned or learnt the lesson? And that's the reward. A lot of the rewards is not just things financially. It's the peace. It's the mental clarity. It's the security within self that you obtain to realize, like, oh shit, this whole time someone could have convinced me that I wasn't stable. But it's like, even when I don't want to know things, the divine will reveal it to me. Whether through for some of us, like through dream state, through vision, through synchronicities, even through your own clarity, or even through the fact of people trying to re-enter your life, or through the fact of, myself, family dynamics and stuff, where you will feel called to talk to someone, but at the same time, you realize, oh, this conversation was meant to not derail me, but to remind me I'm exactly where the fuck I'm supposed to be. And then getting clarity of people that knowing, like, wow, they're in a position where they did not evolve. They're still talking, but they didn't do the inner work. That's the thing about the shadow work. That's the thing about intergenerational curse breakers or cycle breakers. Like, you realize, like, there's nothing that you do that's in vain. I was sitting here like, oh shit, whole time being around people growing up, they would have convinced me, like, oh, your path is, why you doing that? And a lot of things is that a lot of people inadvertently or unconsciously will withhold shit from you, information or certain things, is because they didn't have the privilege to receive that in their childhood. They had the opportunity, but that's the thing where people aren't willing to evolve. That's why certain things are just presented to you, because you have not only the capacity mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but you are more spiritually equipped. This is the thing why we're all selected, anointed, and or chosen. If that's just my perspective, because everyone had an opportunity, no matter who you are. When I look at the family dynamic I came through, everyone had a gift. I just chose to be consistent. I had an uncle that would carve wood. I had another uncle on my dad's side that was a fucking, what you call that? What do you call that shit? Architect and shit. Like, you gotta realize a lot of stuff is already in your lineage. It's the intention behind what you're doing, either for the greater good of all. That's the thing about this transit of, if it was eons or 100 years ago, whatever it was, if we was in different transits, it would make more sense to a lot of people who were navigating through what they were doing. But a lot of these things dealing with Aquarian energy, these transits and so forth, is that you're here. In my awareness, I'm realizing a lot of these people had opportunities, whether they came into money, whether they inherit things, whatever they did, they had the opportunity to expand. They had the opportunity to be intentional with whatever the intention is to seed. They had every opportunity to receive what they were going to receive and expand on the shit. That's it. A lot of these trends right now, it's so, man, I tell myself, man, I know what I'm coming to. I'm not even scared of it. I used to be afraid. There was fear, but I realized it was subconscious, and it wasn't even, I want to say it wasn't so much of mine. It was so much of inherently the generations of realizing that a lot of people most likely had this or came into it. Start looking at your family dynamic. A lot of you not only have spiritual gifts, because you know people who abuse it or have intentions on doing other things to manipulate and so forth and do all these things. And I told y'all before, the karma and also the lesson from all of this shit is people going to realize as these transits happen and shift in the exposure of not just inwardly but outwardly, it will also show that as things evolve, as you evolve, as you do the inner work, then a lot of the shit that other people have done, it will become so faint. Meaning like their intentions behind other things won't have as an effect. Whether that's through magic or whatever the intentions people had on your life. You have to realize like how the divine is actually moving you away from these very people, but at the same time allowing them to see your light, to see your progression, to see your natural innate gifts that they too have, but they just got so distracted or derailed by whatever it is that they either held on to or been carrying like baggage, and realizing why their flight can't take off or why their boat can't sail away is because they still holding on to shit that they never unpacked. So again, look at your family dynamic. A lot of y'all have people who have natural gifts and whatever it is, whether it can just be anything. But that doesn't mean that you have to do it the way they do it. You're called to do it in your own sovereign and authentic and unique way. Why would I copy? That's why most motherfuckers are carbon copies. A lot of people don't know how to be themselves. They just literally let other people influence them. And before they go against the grain or you know, because that's Aquarian energy or just energy in itself, in rebuilding something, whether you see it as the age of Aquarius or Capricorn, either way, a lot of us are here in breaking generational cycles. You are also the blueprint to recreate something. Bitch, you can't destroy the blueprint. That's why I told myself, it's not, what the fuck I need to be afraid for? Some of y'all are literally the blueprint. Your mother and fathers and them was a blueprint. They just didn't realize the consequences in what they mapped out and what they gave you and what intentions and what they, you know, seeds that they planted in your life. They're looking at the fucking blueprint. You're the blueprint. Now the responsibility in the now what comes of that is now how you going to set the blueprint? How you going to do things completely different? That's when I started to realize these motherfuckers can't do, no one can do shit to me if I am the blueprint. I ain't gonna say everyone. Most of the, like, when I look at a dysfunctional family and a lot of shit that I grew up in, bro, most of them follow the blueprint of other people rather than going against their own, doing what they love. They actually follow other people, but they mask it as if they're some type of leader. And in reality, I know everyone in the family that I grew up in, I know every one of them, due to their inability to see past the illusion of what other people have given them, they naturally give off this false empowerment. Is it their fault? No. Have they had the opportunity to do something different? Yes, just as I did. And that's what comes with that is people, the very people who are okay with the blueprint they set out for you, or them normalizing you just being what was comfortable for them and codependent on that shit. Of course they ain't gonna have no problems with you. Well, of course they will have issues with whether you want to call it the black sheep or the one who goes against or who actually is here to rewrite the fucking narrative, who actually is the one, and just like ones that came before you, who had the blueprint. That's what your lineage holds. You are the blueprint. So why would I sit here and then tell myself, because I've had so many people, not even just people, but shit trying to operate through them, whatever their spiritual warfare, trying to convince me that what I'm doing isn't, like telling me that I know this, isn't going to have an effect on the masses, and even when I leave this fucking body. You gonna tell me, you gonna try to come and tell me to do some shit you never done. Not even just that, the consistency of doing this shit for cycles, for years. And I'm just supposed to give up because the results that you feel I should have aren't where they're supposed to be in my life? But who gave you the blueprint? Who are you to play God or source or the Most High? Who are you to do that? And this is why a lot of those people or individuals are going to have front seat, or even the fact of front seat in the bleachers, watching. Even want to spin the block and try to see if they can be involved in some way, because something has been enlightened, or something they don't realize you're just a guiding light for them to be inspired at whatever age they are, to be able to get along this path back home to self, back home to source. We all gonna leave this motherfucker. So what is it? What is this even about? Your status, your career, your ego? What the fuck is this about? What is this about? I would rather my children see me be authentic and be in integrity with $0 fucking dollars. But let them see me that my joy, my love, my everything starts with me first, before I go out there and jeopardize and let another man or woman or human being come and tell their dad, or, you know, the man that I am, or, you know, not protect the inner child in me, and tell my children that allow them to this is how your dad's supposed, this is how you're supposed to be. It didn't actually do that. Now, wouldn't that make it very contradictory if I'm telling my children, and very fake and inauthentic of me to tell my children to be yourselves? Don't let nobody tell you da-da-da-da-da. Be yourself. You came here and so forth. I'm doing the very best you know what I'm saying? No, I'd rather be authentic. I'm doing the very best I can because I'm doing the very best of what I was given. That's why I had to have grace. Again, seeing the shit that my mother and them went through, I just realized, even if you want to use the term late bloomer, but it's more so I'm just processing shit different. So my progression is going to look different. That's what's going to be so unique about it. Because I can say in building slow is I'm able to process the shit, and then I'm able to progress and be able to water the shit in slow motion. Slow and steady. Because what looks slow to someone else can be fast, or whatever else, however you want to perceive it. But that's the beauty of all of this. Letting go of stuff is realizing, like, it took me, the fact of walking away from I had to let go of my mother and people, the dynamics of certain things. I had to let go. It isn't just letting go physically. I had to learn this. It was letting go. Oh, interesting. I had to let go. A part of that process is when you're in an environment, sometimes you're not able to process things because you're surrounded or in an environment so long where it's like delayed processing I talked about. So a lot of things I realized, like, I don't need to beat myself up over certain decisions that I've made. Now that I know, now I realize, like, again, it's the approach and it's also the intention. And I told myself, even with that, like, the fact of with everything that Again, letting go of people isn't just physically, y'all. You grieve people that are present, that were present in your life physically, but walking away, I had to learn that I had to grieve emotionally. I had to let, the memories are still there, but I had to realize like I had to make better memories for myself, recreate a world around something more healthy. And through that process, that's where cycle breaking comes, generational patterns and so forth. A lot of that comes with that. So now I ask myself, why the fuck would I want to stay around dysfunctionality or things that are unstable? And I'm literally knowing that from a distance. As I progress and evolve, I'm called to build upon something more stable within myself, more secure. It don't gotta make sense to nobody else. As they will watch me wanting to stay around something dysfunctional, if I had not moved away or really start to process shit, come on, bro. Birds of a feather flock together. Or one rotten apple spoils a bunch. It shows me like if I would have stayed around in certain stuff, no matter where I was, even with that, it was still affecting me. But still, as I moved away, there's still a processing of emotions. There's still a processing and unraveling of memories. There's still things that you go away and still have to go away and stay away, whether to the divine, years or times. A lot of shit doesn't even matter. It's the fact of recalibration, rehabilitation, restoring that which was lost, which is the fucking peace and the stability in the lineage, the emotional stability. That's a part of the inheritance. So when you do obtain things in the physical, then you need to realize, like, fuck, maybe this learned behavior pattern that I had, I also inherited, but I also need to change this shit. I also need to do things completely different. I seen other people come, like, you know, like some of y'all know of people who came into things, whether that's money, whether that's through inheritance, you know, certain things. I seen people, or you know of people who came into shit, and you can't tell me by their learned behavior patterns or by their patterns or by just the way how they approach things that the reason why their consequences or the results or the way they are truly reflects their inner world. How they manage their emotions is typically how they manage their money. How they manage and approach life, whether through emotional intelligence or so forth. A lot of this shit I had to learn for myself, and a lot of this stuff is, again, we're restabilizing or we're balancing out. Because if you're here to evolve or rise higher or to approach life with better intentions, then you have to see the shit that was ugly. A part of me going abstinent from sex and so forth, that's a part of me letting go of what no longer served me. So now I have to have a different approach or intentions towards the people and experiences that at a point in time would have kept me in the same loop, or even would have encouraged me to go, you know, music and culture would have encouraged me to keep doing the same shit. And guess what? Guess what? That's how you have to see, look at the kids. Encourage them, this influence of the powers that used to be, the lower frequency or the focus on shit just being in the lower chakra or survival mode. All of that shit eventually is how a lot of you are selected or appointed or anointed to be the one who has that strength to master that stuff, to come out of that. And so your approach will be different. That don't mean you're not going to enjoy and live life. Your approach will just be more different and disciplined, more stable, more secure. Because you know, just that one thing, boom. Just that boom, boom, boom. It's a domino effect. And we had to go through that shit. I was there. Man, I should, no. A lot of stuff I'm being met with, it's so funny, like this time around, even being out of the shelter, a lot of the energy or experience I'm being met with is similar, but I realize how outdated it is. I realize like how my approach, how I've approached things, how my mindset, how I had to be the one through a lot of that shit, stay 10 toes down or stay in integrity, even when nobody else could. It didn't matter. It didn't matter because I would try to make and convince people. It didn't even matter. So now I have to prepare. How am I preparing? Letting go and preparing for the journey ahead or the mission ahead. And then being and accepting it. And realizing, okay, there's something else you're going to have to let go too, to go build upon something else. And that's another thing where a lot of people aren't willing to let go. Build upon something that is unfamiliar. But you know that you're divinely guided and protected. It's just now the discernment that goes into that. It's the approach now. It's the beauty in that. Now you're more equipped. That's the process of all this shit. Now you're more equipped. Now you're more spiritually, mentally, emotionally equipped. Because you had to see the people who wanted to hold on to the old narrative. Who wanted to hold on and believe and convince themselves that the foundations of the old world, through these transits, through these cycles, were still here. And I'm telling you, I get clarity of it all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh. I didn't even want to know that, but I did. Because, I didn't even want to know it, but I had to, because the divine is basically telling me, I'm letting you know that this is your confirmation. How once you hear this news of something, then how are you going to counter that? How are you going to counter, productively or counter that? How are you going to navigate through this? And that's through death with, physical, and it's spiritual. That's happening all the time. You can't even change it. None of us can. It's, again, are you going to live life 100 years, or are you going to live, are you going to live one life? Are you going to live 100 years, or are you going to live 1 year 100 times? And most of what you see, I had to remind myself, even through people that are closest to you, the people that I feel like that sometimes are presently in your life are literally the best mirrors. If you look at family dynamics, they are some of the best teachers. Because everyone will show you a reflection of something either they inherited generationally or something that you need to see to go beyond what's familiar. And most people are afraid to step out into that. They're afraid to face their own fears, so they project them onto other people. I'm getting my own clarity through this shit. So y'all take care of yourself. Peace and blessings. Shalom.